Scents of the Week. This is a series I have on my channel where I talk about fragrances I've been wearing this week. This is one of my favorite videos to do, so stay tuned to find out what fragrances I've been wearing. Hey, how's it going YouTube? Raj here. Welcome back to the channel. I hope all of you are well. Hang in there, we will get through this. On Monday, I wore a fragrance from the Italian designer brand Prada. This one is Prada Amber Pour Homme Intense. So I've been working off a decant, and this is one of those fragrances that I'm sure I've tried it before, but I've never properly tested it. You know, when you're out in the stores, if you can ever remember what it feels like to go into a store, you might try 300 fragrances in one afternoon. But with this one, I had never properly worn this fragrance until Monday. I quite like it. It has a very interesting mix to it. I think Prada are actually a really good house on the whole. They make very solid scents. Prada Amber Pour Homme is certainly on the oriental style. It's a little bit more powdery. There's a dry patchouli note in there. I'm still getting to grips with this fragrance, and I can't say that I can properly break it down, but I think there's a touch of sweetness and a touch of earthiness in there coming through, and overall I think it's a very, very well made fragrance. Let me know, guys, if you've tried this one, maybe you own it. Definitely a good fragrance. On Tuesday, I went to Tom Ford, and specifically the Private Blend. This is a fragrance that I really, really love. I've reviewed it, so I will leave a link in the I section and also in the description box. I hadn't worn it in a while, and it is Cafe Rose. Cafe Rose has a blend of different roses. It's on the sweet side. There's a wateriness I feel here. There's an earthiness. And overall, there's a spiciness to this fragrance, and overall, just really, really well made. Such a classy fragrance, I feel. And a little bit heavy, I feel, for Tuesday. The weather was quite good, but I just felt like reaching for it. Cafe Rose from Tom Ford, really, really good. Check it out when you get the chance. Wednesday, and I went with a fragrance from Guerlain that I'd recently got a decant of, and this is L'Homme Idéal Eau de Parfum. When the L'Homme Idéal line came out from Guerlain, to be honest, I wasn't really a big fan of the first few releases. This one came out in the Eau de Parfum, and I had tried it, but never gave it like a proper wearing, so I felt like I had to get a decant and properly wear it. I've got to say, this fragrance is amazing. It has this wonderful cherry, liqueur, powdery vanilla vibe there. But interestingly, it also has a freshness to it. It doesn't wear heavy on the skin. It comes across as very classy, very much like an evening type of scent, and is really, really well put together. I've got to say, the composition on this is top notch. Thierry Vasseur has done a good job. Moving on to Thursday, this fragrance is a fairly new release. I was kind of intrigued by mainly the bottle, to be honest, which is creepy AF if you've ever seen it. I will show a picture. This one is Moschino Toy Boy. The bottle design is kind of creepy. Yeah, I don't really like it, to be honest, but they've done something different. They've taken a bit of a risk, and Moschino do this with their fragrances. They do like to have interesting designs for their bottles. Toy Boy was a fragrance that I quite enjoyed. I wouldn't say I love it. I think it's actually very, very nicely put together. It's basically a very light, watery rose fragrance. It's very, very linear on my skin. It is very pleasant and actually quite nice in springtime, I think, which is the season that we're in at the moment. But wasn't particularly exciting. It wasn't one of those that when I sprayed it, I thought, whoa, this is amazing. I'm loving the evolution. But you know what? Sometimes that more simple, stripped back, more straightforward fragrance is actually a good choice at times. I'm looking forward to seeing how this develops on my skin a little bit more as I test it out, and really, you got to wear a fragrance, you got to really, really test it multiple times to get a good feeling. On the whole, actually, I do like it, but it's just at the moment, I'm not like loving it, but it's an interesting release. Moving on to Friday, and not a fragrance I was planning on wearing, to be honest. From Amouage, the house coming out of Oman, this one is Jubilation XXV. There's no doubt that Jubilation 25 has very special qualities. I used to own this fragrance in the older style bottle when I believe it had a white cap. Now it has this gold magnetic one. And I moved that fragrance on, but I kind of always knew that I would bring it back into my collection. This one, even though it does perform really, really well and it smells wonderful, I feel like it lacks something which I can't honestly put my finger on. It's maybe just a little bit of a body, a little bit more, a little bit of that punchiness that original had. I'm going off memory here, guys, so I can't remember. But this one, the sweet berries, that kind of boozy honey accords, a lightness, a freshness also I feel coming from the frankincense in here. Spicy, very, very rich, I would say. And overall, just a fragrance that's definitely worth checking out. But something is missing, and maybe you guys will be able to point it out to me. I'm not 100% sure. Typically, I only wear one fragrance a day. You know, I like to test things now and again, so I'll do some sprays on my hand, or maybe, you know, just whatever is new to me at the time. But I took a shower and I thought, let me wear a completely different scent. And I went with a fragrance from Guerlain, and this one was Shalimar, the EDT version. I've got a couple of samples of Shalimar. This one is one that was given to me in the Paris boutique when I went last year. And I also, because it's a fairly small sample, I decided to get another one. And I also picked up one off the EDP. So I'm going to be doing a comparison between the EDT and the EDP. So stay tuned for that one. Shalimar is a fragrance that I know. I've tried it on paper. I've done a few sprays on like the top of my hand whenever I've been at a Guerlain boutique or at a counter, but I've never properly worn it. I've definitely never owned a full bottle, so it's good to have a couple of samples to work off. And I've got to say, wow, this was a beautiful experience for me. So much going on in this fragrance. I've always known that I've enjoyed it, but you know, when you properly wear a fragrance, it's the only way to test it. And what a development on my skin. I love the fact that this fragrance transitions. It keeps you guessing, it keeps you trying to figure out what's going on, and keeps you going back for more. The vanilla note in here is sublime. The powderiness never becomes too much on my skin, which I definitely appreciate. And the musky accords come through. It is very luxurious, I would say. And, you know, as a man, I think very, very easy to wear. The EDP is a fragrance I have some experience with. I used to own a sample, but I decided to buy another one because I wanted to do a side-by-side comparison. So let's see, which one is going to be my favorite, the EDT or the EDP? We are on to the weekend, and on Saturday I went with a fragrance from the fashion brand SCENTS, and this one is Sunset Riot. So is this a clone of Baccarat Rouge 540? Well, in the opening, there is that vibe. It's a lot more watered down, and it is not as sugary as BR 540, and I'm actually pleased with that. It was like a skeletal version of Baccarat Rouge 540, but to be honest, this fragrance didn't really develop a lot on my skin. It was like a flash in the pan. You know, the opening was kind of promising. You know, I thought it was okay. It definitely reminded me a lot of the Maison Francis Kurkdjian fragrance, and I was thinking, okay, where is this gonna go? It didn't go anywhere, is the answer. It just faded on my skin, and obviously, you know, I've got like a lot more to wear, and obviously you got to test out a fragrance a lot more, and who knows, it might change. But I was kind of disappointed with this one, to be honest. There are a couple others in the All Saints line that I've picked up decants of, Metal Wave and Incense City. So once I'm done with all of these three fragrances, I'll do one video giving you my thoughts on all three. And on Sunday, I went with a sweet fragrance from Frederic. This is his collaboration with Dries van Noten. Dries van Noten is a Belgian fashion designer, and he worked with Frederic to create quite a sweet fragrance, one that is reminiscent of pastries, Belgian pastries, and it has definitely has a buttery feel to it. There's a woodiness in there, a sandalwood accord. It has some very, very interesting synthetic accords going on in here, and I think overall is a really, really well-made fragrance, well worth checking out if you like your gourmands, you like fragrances on the sweeter side. Not exactly the most complex fragrance, but quite a comforting scent and a really nice way to round out the week. Which fragrances did you wear this week? I'd be really, really interested to find out. I know a lot of you out there have great taste in fragrances, so drop a comment down below. If you like this type of content, hit the like on this video because it really helps out anyone who creates YouTube content. And yeah, that's all from me. Take care, guys. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one. Bye.